All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls, and joining me, the parish president of Lafourche Parish, Mr. Archie Chiasson. Archie, always good to see you.
Welcome back, Martin. I'm good to be glad here with you for once, finally.
Yeah, you're right. I see you with everybody else. As a matter of fact, I told you that last time. I said, well, you come show me some love, you know.
That's right.
But of course, we're always together for the hurricanes and everything else. But it's good to have a little fun sometimes and just talk in general stuff instead of how high the water's going to be in Bayou Lafourche and other things of that nature. But what's new in Lafourche? Just sort of take me through it. And I know y'all have a lot taking place, very progressive at this stage. If you went through Lafourche about 10 years ago to now, there's some big differences.
There's a big difference, Martin, when you look at kind of just the way the parish is factored out, right? I think last year we did about 150 new lots in Lafourche Parish for development. A lot of what we're seeing is on that west side of Thibodaux is where the growth is going. Of course, some of that's a northward shift from Lafourche and Terrebonne as people try to escape higher insurance costs and water and all the fun stuff. Even though we're doing some great things with levees, right, we still have some people running up. A lot of that is first-time home buyers, grandkids and kids of people who still live down south, but they've shifted northward because of the economy, because of where they work. We've seen some great growth at Nichols with stuff you guys have covered, new training facilities for football, the new coastal center, the new nursing building that's coming. So we've seen a lot of great growth there. The healthcare sector has taken off. You look at what they're doing at Thibodaux Regional Health Systems, things that Ochsner's doing right here in Matthews. And then, of course, the new Lady to Sea complex that's coming. Temporary hospitals there, almost up and running. And then they got about $70 million for a brand new facility, which they're tearing down the old one now. So a lot of cool things happening, and you tie in all the recreational aspect things that we're doing, projects we've talked about on the show before, the new covered rodeo arena and ag complex in Raceland. The council is slated next or tomorrow night at our council meeting to approve, I think, 6 or 7 low bids for new recreation infrastructure across the parish. Part of it's, hurricane repairs work that we're doing, right? But a lot of it's new stuff. We're going back with metal poles, LED lights, stuff that's going to be mitigated. So hopefully we don't have the same problems we saw over the hurricanes, right? Not just with Ida, but just ones before that. So you throw in all that together, right? The new lots, the great healthcare, the stuff that's going on at Nichols. Of course, our school system is great. Mr. Martin and the school board in the top 5 school districts in the state. It really makes Lafourche Parish the bedroom community where people want to come home to, right? We're never going to be able to compete with the river parishes. And I joke with President Jewell over in St. Charles, really good friend. We worked together in parish government for a while. He's a Nichols kid. But, they have double our budget, but half the people. So they get to do some really cool stuff, right? I'd love to have a nuclear power plant in Lafourche, and it would generate the money for us that it generates for them. But we're that bedroom community, right? People are driving to the river, they're driving to New Orleans or Baton Rouge, but they're coming back to Lafourche at night. They're bringing home those paychecks, they're bringing home their families, which is why we see cool things happening. You just look at the expansion of BCA and the new campus that they broke ground on a couple of weeks ago, and that tremendous school asset, the charter aspect we're going to have in that northern part of the parish. Just a lot of cool things that make Lafourche the place people want to live, work, and play. And we use that tagline a lot. I know Cody does with the Tourist Commission as well, Louisiana Cajun Bayou. But we are becoming that parish that I think people want to come home to every night.
How important is it for Nichols? And we've seen Nichols grow. And then you get a guy like Coach Tim Rebo, just a great coach, but didn't have the facilities that other schools had for the longest time. Y'all been trying to bridge that gap, because when he's doing recruiting and bringing people down, first thing those students do is they look around. They want to see things.
They do. And I think that the success that Coach Rebo has had, right, the back-to-back Southland Conference championships, the playoff bursts. You look at what Coach Silva's doing in baseball with the Southland Conference championship last year, the great start that they're off to this year. You look at the great start that our basketball programs are off to. The academic success of Nichols has always been there, right? We produce top quality educators and biologists and chefs, pre-med students, pre-law students, all of that all day long, every day. But the athletic success has brought new things to Nichols, right? And because of the great things that our coaches have done, it's a lot easier for our delegation to go to Baton Rouge and say, hey, wait, we need a few dollars from the state, right? Let's make the improvements, brings more kids here, makes enrollment go up, makes finances a whole lot easier. So when you couple those two things together, the great coaching abilities we have, the great educational success we have at Nichols, it's allowed that campus to flourish, right? Why we were able to land the Coastal Center at Nichols State University and not at UL, not at UNO, right here in Thibodeau, right? It's why we've gotten the capital outlay request in to have that new nursing building, right? The nursing building or the nursing program has exploded so much because of the accreditations, because of the great things that they're doing in that program, that we needed more space. So we can continue to produce nurses not only for our region, right, but they're going to New Orleans, they're going to Baton Rouge, because those people need nurses as well. But because of the success of that program, we're able to get the dollars, and I think that's a testament to Dr. Clune and his group, the coaching. We opened the small business incubator last week, and as I said when we were there, Miss Lisa Kleber has done a great job getting that ship off the ground. But we've always been a parish of doers and thinkers and entrepreneurs. We've seen that in the marine industry, in the ag industry, in the technology industry. But now we're able to keep those kids here, right? We shouldn't have to choose between opportunity and home, right? We should be able to couple both of those things. And I think that incubator is going to be a huge way to be able to do that. And keep those students here once they graduate from Nichols and they want to crank off that business. Well, let's crank it off, right? You couple that with some of the taxing issues that we've done and ways to make business more attractive here in Lafourche Parish. It's going to go a long way to helping us succeed in the long run.
Before we take a break, which we have to take right now, let me just remind you that Jay Clune is a Vanderbilt graduate.
He is. I give him that. But then he came to Nichols, so it's all right.
There you go. No, I agree. He's a fine gentleman. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. I want to find out from the parish president how we keep people here. He gave us a hint in the first segment, but if you're watching and you're thinking about moving after you graduate, hold on a second. We need you right here. We'll be right back. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. All right, welcome back. We are with the parish president of Lafourche Parish, Mr. Archie Chiasson. Always good to see him. I always tease you, and I'll let the public know. I always say, you can be governor or lieutenant governor one day. You're a great speaker, great orator. You come across well when you speak. And, I think the energy in Lafourche has been well over the years. And I look at it now, look at Lafourche, and no matter where you go through Lafourche, you see new restaurants popping up. Yeah. You see, it's a different feel than it was 15, 20 years ago. Let's pick Thibodeau, for example. Thibodeau was a conservative, little, quiet, quaint little town, owned by about 4 different families, pretty much. But they unbridled themselves. They started developing land, doing restaurants on stretches. When you go to Thibodeau, you have to make a choice of where you're going to eat. In other places in this area, you only have 2 or 3 major choices. How hard was that to pull off?
Martin, you look at what those 4 families did, right? And you think about those founders of kind of Thibodeau, the Lavers and the Pelches and those guys. It's been a quagmire of how they've done that. You look at just downtown, and you look at places like Freeman's and Cuvée and all the little shops and boutiques we have now. That's what I think people are really looking for. They're looking to get away from kind of the sprawl and the big city of New Orleans. And I think that's why, Cody and his group at Louisiana's Cajun Bayou have been so successful at getting people here, because we're still very quaint. We're still very downtown. Right. I think when you look at some of the improvements in some of the buildings that are going on downtown, I think once we're done with some of our hurricane repairs and we have a fresh district attorney's office in the block building, which is a historic structure, you have a fresh courthouse that's going to have new copper on its roof and a brand new white paint job. You look at the courthouse annex where our clerk of court, Miss Fontana, is, and the upgrades we're going to do to it, and our building and the ag building and the old post office. You couple all of that with what's happening downtown, and you're going to have a new vibrant place. And I think it's going to be It's going to bring a lot more people there. I think it's going to help things like Thibodeauville and the Big Boy Cook-Off and Thibodeau Main Street. Hopefully get some concerts back downtown. When you look at what Mayor Claymont is doing with his new pavilion on the Bayou side, we're really kind of transforming that. You look at, we opened, the council is going to approve the bids tomorrow night on the new Tourist Commission office under Highway 90 that was destroyed by the hurricane. You look at what we did across the street on the Bayou with that little floating dock with Friends of Bayou Lafourche and the Freshwater District, and DOT did build that little pavilion and that overlook. You look at the improvements we've made to the Lockport boat launch, including a kayak launch and all that stuff. The new Leeville boat launch that's almost done, that we're working to finish with the new fishing pier that was destroyed. Up and down the Bayou, there's all kind of cool things happening from a recreational aspect, but that brings people here. It does, and it brings a new economy to us, and it brings people that go, okay, well, we visited. Well, can we retire here? Or, in the break we were talking about, as hospitals try to get doctors here, that older generation of doctors is retiring. We're trying to recruit new docs. What do you want to see? Is it restaurants? Is it pathways? Is it playgrounds? Is it parks? Is it education? We're having a big town hall meeting on Thursday night at our Matthews Government Complex to really talk about how do we reinvest these hurricane dollars. We're sitting on about $35 million worth of dollars that the state's making us, they're making us have this public hearing, right? But we want to hear from the public. We want you to come out Thursday night and tell us what you want to see done with that money. Right? Is it taking old buildings and reinvesting in them to get them back into commerce? Is it building better playgrounds? Is it turfing fields? Is it putting more money into infrastructure, bigger pump stations, bigger levees, that sort of stuff? And I think, with Chairman Dove now in Baton Rouge and Mr. Alford, who I'm going to see after this show, talking about levee protection and hurricane protection, as good as those things are, we have to take care of what's on the inside as well. We can keep the water out. We've proved that during Ida. The work that's been done by all of these great people has proved to be worthwhile. It's now how do we invest on the inside? How do we invest in that quality of life? And I think what we've seen happen in downtown Thibodaux, how do we extrapolate that to downtown Lockport, downtown Golden Meadow, downtown Raceland, downtown Bayou Blue, and how do we reinvigorate those communities?
In downtown Houma.
Yeah.
I mean, with sister cities, really.
Sure.
And I know there's a big effort in Houma, and both cities could learn from each other. But let me ask you this let's talk shop, because people watching are going to go, how did Archie Chiasson talk the fine people of Thibodaux, and I was born in Thibodaux, so I could pick on. But we all know some people just want the same thing. They don't want things to change. Yeah. And when I saw things changing in Thibodaux, and y'all know, all right, people were going, I don't know if I want this. But then when they saw it happening, most people embraced it, and it just exploded.
Yeah, it's all about partnerships and opportunities.
And the mayor's involved with that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about those partnerships and figuring out with those developers, with those key landowners, what do we see coming? Far too often in government we get stuck on, well, what happened on Monday morning? What blew up? What do we have to fix?
That's a good point.
And we forget to look 25 or 30 years down the road. And a lot of these people have done that. They've set us on a trajectory that I'd like to say now I get to reap the benefit of, right? If everybody says, oh, well, good job, Arch. Well, it wasn't necessarily me, right? It's the 300 people behind me in Lafourche Parish, government, and the people who foresaw this stuff. Now our job is to take care of it, right? You look at, the new roundabout happening in Thibodaux. You look at, what's going to come hopefully next year with the recreation of the what we call the twin spans over Canal Boulevard and Bayou Lafourche. It's all those infrastructure needs that we have now because we have so many people, right? We've done really good at growing it. We've done really good at investing in those restaurants and the recreational, that fun stuff. Now we need to figure out how to move people.
Yeah, but y'all have done a great job of getting bigger, but still looking small.
That's right.
And I don't mean that in disrespect. Y'all have kept it quaint.
We have.
That's by design.
It is by design. Keeps people coming back and wanting to retire here and do all the fun stuff.
Yeah. All right. Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. We have one more segment with the parish president. Always enjoyed talking to him, getting his insight on what's happening in Lafourche Parish. We'll be right back. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. All right, we're back. Our final segment with the parish president, Mr. Archie Chiasson of Lafourche Parish. And, you know, I think about downtown Houma, downtown Thibodeau, and I'm right in downtown Houma. We have restrictions. We have things we have to do. If you're going to paint your building, you know, bright red, it's got to go before a board. You know, they got to vote on it. But the zoning is different parish-wide from Lafourche to Terrebonne. Does that help you?
I think it does, Martin. It allows us the flexibility to do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do in a downtown setting, right? When you look at the city of Thibodeau, and I got to work there, so I know a little bit about it. But you know, we have a historic district commission that if you want to paint or change windows, and you kind of got to go to them, not so much for an advisory, you know, an approval, but more of an advisory. We want to make sure that you don't paint what I call a building Barney purple, right, in the middle of downtown, and it just, you know, you want to be artistic, but you don't want it to stand out that much.
Right.
But when you look at the zoning laws and restrictions about where industry can be, where residential can be, where commercial can be, we don't have that outside of the 3 municipalities in Lafourche. So at times it does cause us headaches, right? Because you may end up with they pop up everywhere now, but a Dollar General in a historically residential area, and the neighbors may not like it that much, right? Because of trash and the noise. But it's hard to restrict that. And I acquaint it to this all the time that, you know, if there's a vacant piece of property that I could go buy it and open up a pig farm, right? And there's nothing that really anybody can say. But Lockport, Thibodeau, and Golden Meadow, you can't, because they do have some restrictions about where things can be put. So, you know, it allows us a little bit more flexibility when we look at, you know, when businesses want to locate here, where do we put them? You know, we have some industrial corridors. You look at Highway 182 around the sugar mill, things like Express Steel and MTI and those guys, the Verdia plant that was there. You look at kind of when you come toward Bayou, it gets a little bit more industrial and commercial. And then, you know, up and down Bayou Lafourche is still, you know, mostly residential, and you hit places like Raceland or Matthews and La Rose where you have some light industry here and there across the bayou. And of course, you get to South Lafourche, and it's a lot of marine industry and seafood and oil and gas related. But it allows us that flexibility to get in and out of there very quickly and open up businesses. You know, we have done some good things with Christian Lumpkin, our economic development director, about setting certified sites and industrial sites. That way, if a business is looking and they're looking at, you know, LED's website from a state perspective, they know where their sites are that are pre-approved to do industry, that already have built-in tax incentives. I think when you look at what Governor Landry did last week with the new industrial tax exemption program, what we commonly refer to as ITEP, and how that's going to be restructured and who gets to approve it and who doesn't, put more onus on the locals, which is good, with the sheriff, the school board, and the parish, working with our assessors to make sure that it's good for the parishes and not a bad thing. I think that's going to help us do some more economic development as well. We've looked at parish-wide zoning a couple of times, and it's always a struggle because, you know, people, you don't want me telling you what you can do on your own property a lot of times. So to try to institute it now has become very difficult. But, you know, places like the city of Thibodeau and Lockport and Golden Meadow that have had it for years, it makes it a lot easier for those guys.
Owners have always said that buy builds downtown. I'm probably one of them. You tell commissions, if you want to vote, help me pay the note.
That's right.
So you got to change that mentality, but there's more teeth in the rules and the laws now, isn't there?
There is. You know, a lot of times it's, you know, you can't develop anything, right? If you bought it and you didn't think about that ahead of time, then you kind of get stuck and you either have to conform to the rules or you try to sell a building off again. But again, you know, working in the city of Thibodeau and then now working with the mayors in Lockport and Golden Meadow and even Mayor Claymore now in Thibodeau, it always seems to go really smooth. A lot of people are doing those homework ideas and looking at the buildings, especially downtowns, from that perspective before they get in too deep and end up purchasing a building and then they can't do what they want with it.
Let me ask you with about 2.5 minutes left. When you take Lafourche Parish in general and you ran and you said, okay, I'm going to try to do these things. But now you look at it and you go, we've done pretty good. Did you expect to do that good that fast?
I didn't. Even
where was the resistance?
You know, a lot of it was, you know, a lot of the stuff came easy. When we talk about coastal, when we talk about drainage, when we talk about quality of life, that's the easy stuff. The struggle for us was talking about economic development and talking about tax reform. And it was something that we knew we wanted to do, something that we knew needed to be done. And the economic development side was a little bit easier. And I use the Cairo example, right? We helped Cairo do about a $30 million expansion with some tax write-offs and some trade-offs there over the next 10 years. And to get, you know, there were 17 different taxing districts we had to talk to get them to sign off on this stuff. And, you know, you go talk
17?
to 17, just because of the way our taxes are structured, right? We're a little bit different than you guys here in Terrebonne. But you go talk to the fire district and they're like, Archie, look, you know, we're trying to build a new fire station. We're trying to buy a new truck. And I went, I get it, guys. I'm asking you to give up. In this case, it was about $70,000 a year for about 7 years. I said, I understand that. But if these guys walk away, which they've told us they would,
lose a lot.
you lose everything. Right. So to get people into that mentality that, yeah, you have to give up a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to make a whole lot of difference, has come a long way. We finally gotten that set up. You know, we formed that industrial development board again to take the politics out of it. So, you know, we have 5 great people who serve on that board that are going to be looking at these ITEP things now that the governor's executive order came out as well. And then the tax reform was really a struggle too, because you got some of these districts that were leftovers from the police jury days, and people use them to get projects done. And it's, you know, well, we're taking away people's power. Well, no, we're not really taking away people's power. We're giving it to the council instead of having a board and separate taxes. And well, you can
You may
spend
be
here.
giving them less, but you're giving them longer guarantees that monies are coming in.
That's right. And look, I got to give it, you know, working with the school board and Superintendent Martin, we got it through. And it's this, I think that was the catalyst to say, okay, now we need to tackle some more things. And we're going to look at that as we go through this next term in office. But that was the hardest too. But again, I think because we've assembled the right team, we have the right council, it's worked out for us, and it's going to
I
pay
knew when you and
dividends.
Mr. Martin came in the show one time and did the interview, y'all had a great game plan. I knew at that point they got a good shot at it.
That's right.
And
That's
it
right.
worked.
And look, you talked about me being an orator. You know, my grandmother, I tell this joke all the time, but my grandmother Gladys always told me I'd be a politician or a priest. And the whole priest thing was never going to work out for a variety of reasons, but it's, you know, she was halfway right. And I think she looks down on me all the time and go, you're kind of doing okay, kid. Right?
All right. You are. Thank you, Archie. Good seeing you again.
Appreciate you, Martin.
All right. The parish president of Lafourche, Archie Chiasson. We'll have more with him and others. Don't go away.